Um, yeah, everything we do with any conversations or anything like that, again, I'll tell you guys again, I know I respect the job that you guys have to do, but I'll always keep those conversations in-house. I'll continue to do that. Much like if I had a conversation with you and we worked together and, you would probably expect me to do that same thing. And that's my job as the head coach and all things like that with any conversations with players, whether it's, of something that happens in a game, a moment in the game, like there's the information that I will always keep in-house.
Sure.
Would
With,
you make
with
a
respect, though, Nick, I'm not asking about the conversation you might have had with him. I'm asking about
Yeah, and
your
I
confidence.
answered it how I wanted to answer it.
What do you think of the league's discipline?
Again, I'm not going to ever get into like the same thing with anything with the league. If I agree with a call or if I don't agree with a call, if I agree with a discipline or I not agree, I owe the league that same respect. That again, you don't air business out there, so won't get into that either.
How much do league decisions weigh into how you handle things in-house?
Yeah, same. Won't get into again. There's just certain things. Again, I respect the crap out of the job that you guys have to do, but there are certain things that, um, that I'll keep close, and there's certain things that I'll share with you, as you guys know. This isn't one of them.
Nick,
So
obviously
James-
on the field, I know you don't look at this as a Super Bowl rematch. Two different teams, you've said that since training camp. But just the environment, fan base having to watch your team beat them in the Super Bowl, highlights, you can't avoid them. What do you think the atmosphere will be like on Sunday at Arrowhead?
The way, Arrowhead's a place where, I was able to coach and, it's always a good atmosphere there. I think regardless of, I went through some bad seasons there too. And it was still a great atmosphere there. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. I love playing here more than anything. I love our fans and our atmosphere more than any NFL stadium, basketball arena, anything, baseball stadium. But I know that when you go there, it's always a challenge with the noise. It's a loud stadium. Their fans get rowdy, and it will be a great atmosphere. And I know they're ready for that because of all the primetime games and big playoff games that they've played in. And us, we feel the same way that we'll be ready for it and we'll do the right things in preparation to get ready for it, to have ourselves ready.
Nick, Jalen said that he's gained confidence as a result of last year and the successes. In what way have you seen that confidence manifest in day to day?
Yeah. Again, what I admire so much about Jalen is his consistency. That he constantly is working to do everything he can do to help the team win the football game, and so you admire that. So it's hard for me to say that I see differences in any way he acts as far as his preparation or his work ethic or anything because it's always been top notch and he's so consistent. Um, but you can tell the confidence. I think just by the way he goes through. You guys get to see it in the game, but we get to see it on practice. Just how he goes about every part of running the offense, and being the quarterback of the football team, whether it's his ability to get through reads and get to reads quicker, his ability to have command at the line of scrimmage with checks and different things like that. I just continue to see that rise, and as that rises, right, we've seen this in this league so many times where the longer a quarterback plays, the more they've seen, the better they are, and I think that that's where the confidence comes from. I know my confidence comes from obviously, our execution in practice, for that week and execution in past games, which make you comfortable doing certain things in the game. And so that's where confidence is built in your practice and your preparation. And that's not only for players, that's for coaches that are, making decisions in games as well.
I know these are two different teams that played 7 months ago in the Super Bowl, but how valuable is that tape, especially pertaining to Saquon? They kind of did a good job modeling him up. What can you learn from the tape 7 months ago?
Yeah, when you play a division opponent, when you play a division opponent, there are certain checklists you go through. Those are like, keys to a certain type of week. Well, one of the things is keys to it the second time you play an opponent. Well, this is a short matter of time, so there's been since I've been here in 21, there's been 4 teams that we've played every year, and obviously that's the Giants, that's the Commanders, that's the Cowboys, and that's the Chiefs. We played them every single year, and so yeah, you're constantly looking at those tapes, and you have a plan of what you do when you play a team again, and you go through that process. Um, of that, you can expect, things that they did successfully to for those things to come again in different forms. And you can expect, things that they may not have done successfully that they change a little bit, right? That's what you do as a coach. So we go through our process, but also we know that they go through their process. If that made sense, how I just said that. And so those are the little things that could be the differences and the similarities when you play an opponent again. So it's kind of like when you play, I think sometimes, I can't remember last time this happened with us, but you play a team the first game of the year and then you play them the last game of the year. So it's kind of similar to that time frame um, with that.
Nick, when Jalen Hurts was under center or pistol, you guys overwhelmingly ran the ball. When you're in shotgun, you overwhelmingly passed the ball. Did you, in self-scout, feel that that had anything to do with the lack of?
That's on first, second, and third down, or just first and second down?
That was
All. Yeah, like when you look at numbers like that, you're always constantly looking at your self scout. You have no tendencies going into game one. You look at your tendencies before game one, maybe, of last year, but we have a new play caller, new offensive coordinator. Obviously people keep things simple in the preseason, so not a lot of tendencies. But you always go through those tendencies. Your job of what you want to do is put seeds of doubt in the defense's mind, and so you're constantly thinking about that and how you mesh that together. And we look at it as coaches a little bit different. Just to get into that, like first, second, third down, red zone, 2 minute. Well, third down in a lot of scenarios you are in the shotgun. 2 minute, same deal, red zone potentially. Um, and so you got to break it down into similar, smaller sections of when you do that. And so, but we do that obviously every single week to make sure that one, we're not tipping anything on our hat for the things that we're doing or the way we stand or the way we line up or anything like that or where guys are. And two, to put a seed of doubt into the defense's mind, because that's what you're trying to do to slow them down a little bit. You try to slow them down with motions, you try to slow them down with formations, you try to slow them down pre-snap with marrying and meshing things together to give your guys the best chance to win.
Hey, Nick, you got a couple new guys in here, Bigsby and Za'Darius Smith. Do you anticipate them playing, being able to play, and how do you know when a new guy is kind of ready to get out there and play?
Yeah, I think somebody's asked me that before, and it's like I don't think that every guy is the same, right? It's everybody's a little bit different when you make that decision on when he can play and when he can't play. There's not a handbook on it that says, "Hey, this is the time." But what I will say is, I can't answer that question yet. We have a week of practice to go through. But going back to, I can't remember who asked the question. I apologize. But it's the same thing. You build confidence in practice. Build confidence in individual periods and competitive periods. All those different things to know it's a feel of like, okay, this guy's ready to go, or hey, this guy might need a little bit more time. And so those are questions that are answered throughout the week, in all those different things. So there's a way we play football and a standard that what we play football to that we have to do a good job of explaining and like an orientation for these guys, and we have a plan for that. And then every guy's just a little bit different.
How does Titans Big D fit, and was the running back depth something you felt you needed to upgrade?
We're always looking to be able to improve our roster. Again, I can't tell you how many times I've said this too, is like Howie's just done such a great job of always he's always doing everything he can do to help our team win football games, and I'm appreciative of that. Um, and so, you always look for depth. You always look for good players. This guy's a good player, gives us depth there. And so, and he gives us depth at special teams. So we'll see where he is by the end of the week, see where, what that is. But I just love the player, right? I really, and we see a vision for the player. And of, how we can use him and the things that he can do and the skill set that he has. And, obviously we're always Howie and I are always in conversation about that. And, Kevin and Jamal in this case, and Vic, and for that matter, and Coach Clay. And so we really like the player and the things that he can do. He's a really good runner. And so excited to add that depth to this room.
When you watch tape of the Super Bowl, is it difficult at all to like strip the emotion from that game and just see it as a football game?
Obviously, anytime you watch a game that you have a good memory of, it does bring that, it can always bring them. We're human. It always brings that emotion back. Um, but you're watching it for a purpose too. So I think it's possible to have the emotion, but it's not like I'm jumping up and down like when Smitty catches the touchdown. I'm not running down the sideline like I was in the game and Connor Barwin shoves me, right? And so it's a different type of emotion, because I think you can have that and get the job done that you're trying to do. Does that make sense? That you're trying to do, and that's not just the Super Bowl. That's, you know, whatever. If I look back at a Charger game, and I know Philip Rivers sent me a text last week of the Dallas versus Charger game that we played in Thanksgiving Day in 2017, and there were some great highlights. And as I was watching, and I'm like, maybe there wasn't a lot to learn because there was a different coordinator. Although Coach Eberflus was the linebacker coach at the time there under their defensive coordinator and Coach Garrett. There were still some great moments that you're able to watch and be like, and maybe even spur thought. Like they did it. We did a couple things that Hunter Henry had a really good game. Austin Eckler did. Keenan Allen had this play in 2-man that he cut back and scored to put us up. We didn't have a field goal kicker in that game, so I'm like, why the heck are we going for it on 4th and 13? And then, oh yeah, that we didn't have a field goal kicker in that game. So I always, that's what I love that. Like I love to be able to think back or go back and look at a play and do that. But yes, but you're still trying to do you're still doing your job, and you can have both of those things. Because I'd be just flat out lying if I said there wasn't any emotion when you watch a cool play from tape, and that's not just that game, but that's all the games that I watch in preparation for the week.
We have time for two more.
You've talked a lot about game planning, from the passing perspective, goes through AJ, Devontae, Dallas. Do you have a general philosophy when it comes to manufacture touches? Like generally, all right, we got to get this guy involved, bubble screen, things like that.
Sure. But everybody does, different things. Everyone has different skill sets as well. And so you want to use the skill set that the guy has. Now, again, AJ, Devontae, Dallas, I feel like they have a skill set that they can do a lot of different things. But you always want to use their skill set there. And bubbles are, a lot of times on bubbles, I wouldn't say every time, but it's based off of looks, right, of what you get. And sometimes the look doesn't allow you to. So even when you have a plan to say, here's what we're doing, the quarterback can't just say, and the coordinator or myself as the head coach can't just say, throw it there, hell or high water. That's just not how the game's played. And that's just not how we go about it. Obviously, we always want to get, those guys the football, and because good things happen when they do touch the football. But there's also an art to the quarterback position that you got to take what the defense gives you and what's available to you. And the moment I start telling, Jalen, you got to throw it here, I don't think that's good coaching. And but we got to try. What we got to do as coaches is try to manufacture abilities to do that. And if we are able to, we're able to get them the ball.
Last one.
There was talk yesterday about Jalen Hurts' awareness in the pocket, related his sense to kind of a running back in that space. You've been around him a long time too. How would you describe his awareness there and what that relates to you?
I think he's got really good instincts and feel. That's something that the more you're around somebody, the more you recognize that's always something hard to see. There's ways that when you're scouting a player that you're like, does this guy have good instincts? But you get to see those things in practice, and you get to see those things in game. And I think that's what his ability to feel spatial awareness of where guys are, that instinct of what's happening, the knowledge of the defense. That's where I think he's got, and it's not just that he runs and becomes a running back. He can run and be a passer too, which is so valuable. And then when he does run, He's got really good ability to stick his foot in the ground and change directions. He's got really good ability to be able to break a tackle. He's got really good awareness of when to go down and how not to take a hit. He's got burst and speed. You know that, and he can get. When I say by burst, he can get going fast, quick, which is obviously a huge trait for any of those guys. And those are things that we look for in players. And but I think it all starts, and where it goes to is instinct in the pocket.